Your world, and congratulations on voting if you voted. If you didn't vote, you can't complain. So, we're live. We may or may not have viewers at this time. We did not schedule this. We're trying to practice more as far as being live versus doing recorded videos that are uploaded later. So please bear with me. If the picture is shaky or if the audio isn't perfect or whatever. So what this video is, I have to stop saying the word video also. I'm trying to get myself to do that. But what I'm coming at you with today is how I shop flea markets. I was like, wait a minute, I should have our card out there as well. How I shop flea markets and tag sales. Okay, total disclaimer. It is rare that I go to a flea market or a tag sale. There's a couple flea markets that at a certain time in the year, in the season, which is right now, we will go to because we know they're closing up soon. But we never go in the summer when it's peak season, just because there's tons of people and obviously it's, a time for them, the flea market vendors to actually sell most of their wares. So we sort of want to come in the back door. That's one of my tips for flea markets is if you can wait and go later in the season, you will tend to get the best deals ever. Why? Because this is the last chance for the vendors to sell their wares. And for most of them, like some of them might do like an indoor flea market or antique mall kind of things or whatever else. But as far as putting stuff on the ground outside, obviously the end of that season is pretty much here. So it is the best time to go out there and look for a deal. And what I do is I always bundle. So that's one of the things that I hate to say it irritates me, but we consider ourselves, and we always considered ourselves before the show even came out, to be the real American pickers, because we used to pick between New England and going all the way down as far as Florida, because we traveled a lot of those states, made a lot of stops, thousands, hundreds, I don't know how many. And if we saw something, we got something and we flipped it around. Even when I was a director of technology before I retired, it was a hobby. Now it's become our family business, which has been very, very successful. And so I'm going to, like I said, continue sharing some of the tricks of the trade, especially for the ladies out there, the men as well. If you're retired and you want a side gig, if you enjoy antiques, but you are like me and you don't want to keep anything, like I consider myself a minimalist. So, I really I like looking at things, I like touching them, but then I'm totally cool and absolutely ecstatic when they go to someone else's home or museum or, they're on the set of a television show, movie, play, whatever. Also, we are in a prime location for picking because we are in New England. So we have the entire East Coast, which is really easy to travel. And like I said, when we are, traveling even through the South, we're not traveling on purpose to pick. We're traveling to a destination for vacation or to visit people or whatever, or business. And along the way, we make these stops. So just to let you know, but the thing is, if you do find items that you're going to use in your business, if you are set up as a business, as we are, we pay taxes, we have scheduled forms that are filled out with our accountant and tax dudes. So, we totally pay taxes on our business, but because of that, we're also able to write off a lot of expenses. Um, I'm just going to use the initial T. We call it the T effect. So that's how some people who are in the top 1% are able to pay very little to zero taxes as they write off almost everything. And if you can connect that trip along with your business, you could write off most of the expenses. So that's another tip that I didn't plan on giving you today, but now you have it. So back to flea market. So I went to a flea market at, I think I was there, it was literally, there may have been like, out of the two or 300 vendors that are outside, and then inside they have room for like another 50 to 60 vendors. There may have been like maybe 30, 40 vendors in total left. Like everyone else was gone because it was a very, very windy day. And also it had rained earlier that morning. It stopped at maybe about 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. But by the time the market opened, obviously it was sunny, but it was also muddy. And like I said, very windy. So I think a lot of people catted out early, or maybe they didn't show up. I have no idea because I wasn't there that early. But I know that by the time I got there, it was probably only another, I'd say 5 to 15 minutes left of the flea market before it was closing officially for the day. So that's another tip I have, is I always show up at the absolute end. I don't want to be there any longer than like half an hour. Even 40 minutes for me seems like a long time. So, and I don't care how big the flea market is. I'm really just trying to get deals at the end. And I know that people who are vendors that hang around at the end are really the folks who are like, I want to really get rid of this stuff, or they didn't have great sales that day because they started their prices out too high, or it could be any conglomeration of issues that they had or reasons why they're still there. Maybe there were no issues. So what I do is that go at the end of the flea market. And also, if you had to pay an entry fee to get into the flea market, usually it's discounted at that hour, or it's zero. It costs nothing because they're basically closing very soon. So, one of the things I did is this particular booth had an entire box, and this box was just a lot of miscellaneous things that they were putting away at the end of the flea market. I saw the box, and it was, you can't see the flap that's down here, but it says something like junk lot or something like that on it. And so I looked at it, and I didn't look, and that's the other thing. I never overly look at things. I don't take out a loop unless I know it's something that I'm willing to pay more for and it's already marked at a really awesome price. I do not sit there and pour the box out and hunt through things, because then suddenly things that the seller, had in that box become rediscovered. And also, I don't want everybody else around me to come over and suddenly get into the fray. So in this box I've picked through everything, and that's why things are laid out on the table. But in this box was all of this. This is like costume jewelry. Some of it still has tags on it. Let me get a pointer. Some of it still has tags on it. Like this was a set, this watch that goes with some earrings that are in there. This really cool vintage earring with the rhinestones in it, and the big one in the center. There's two of those. That's one. This ring, it looks like sterling, but it's not. It's and it looks like jade, but I think it's just glass. And I know it looks like it's signed inside, but it isn't. That's just a scratch. But like, so it was, you know, decent costume jewelry in this box. Look at these. These are amazing. These go like on a chandelier. So all of this was in that box, but also what was inside of that box was this silver cup. Some of these miscellaneous coins that you see, like these coins were in there, which are mostly pennies and a couple foreign coins. I think there might be an actual, no, that's like foreign. Yeah, so there were foreign coins, all these wheat pennies. These are actually war nickels. So these have silver in them. I'm going to say, without looking it up because I don't remember, but there were 3 years that these were issued. Like this one is 1942. And you can usually tell a war nickel from other nickels because they're dirt. They look really kind of dirty. But what happened is because of the metal content that they used, that's just the way they are. Like when they were first issued, they were shiny, and over time they oxidized to this like weird finish. I'm looking at the dates on these. I think I'm going to say like 1945, I'm sorry, 1942 to 1945, I believe, with those dates inclusive, are when these nickels were issued. You can actually do a Google search and you'll see that. But you can look at the finish and you'll see this like almost like a graying. And that's a pretty good quick indication without breaking out a loop, without, you know, picking up every nickel, looking at it in detail so that suddenly, you know, like I call them, the vultures are out. You can tell if you have a war nickel. Then when you get home, obviously you can look at them closer. But those were also in this box, and I want to say there's like maybe 8 to 10 of them. And I will sell those as a lot. I've sold war nickels before, and I have done decently well on them because I basically am selling them for the fact that they are World War II nickels. And I'm also selling them because of the silver content. That's what makes them rare. Otherwise, they would just be regular old nickels. And maybe one day I'll do a video more on coins. I am not a coin expert at all. I just know, as I put in other videos, that as a child, and I don't know why, but I just always had an affinity to the shininess of coins. I remember preferring coins over paper money. And I remember like my grandmother would give us like money for Christmas, and she actually at one point started giving me my money in quarters. They used to make these books that you could actually put coins in, and you could like fill it up with quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies, whatever it was, whatever denomination the book was for, and you would get them from the bank. I think they were free back then. And she would give me mine in coins because she knew that I loved coins so much. And I don't know why. I think it was the shininess, the clickiness, the sound. I don't know what it was. I felt like I was collecting something. But yeah, so anyway, I am not an expert on coins, but I know enough to be slightly dangerous, but barely will cause a scratch. So the other thing that was in the box was some of the rings that you see out here. This is actually turquoise and sterling silver. And it actually has, if you can see it, a 10 or 14 karat gold band that encases the turquoise. So super interesting. And you could hear it like when I drop it. It is a heavy ring. This is a thick stone. I'm going to see if I can show you the sterling mark. I don't know if I can because it might be too small, but it definitely yeah, it's probably, I can see it. And it actually also has a name or something inside the band. Let's see if I can put it here. And I don't know if I can, there you go. So it has a name inside the band. And then here it has a couple marks, and one of them is a silver mark. The other one might be the gold content mark, but I'm not sure about that. I have to look at this more with a loop, but I instantly saw the silver mark and I put it to the side. So that's the other thing. I haven't researched any of the stuff in detail yet. So the other things that were in this box were, and mostly it was jewelry. So this is a sterling silver bracelet, and it actually has a designer, it has a designer's name on it. I don't know where the name is now. It's really, really tiny. Like, I really had to look for it. Oh, I can see it. It's on this weird, like, round tag thing, which is probably not going to come into focus. I'll put it on the table. Yes, you could see it there. And I did use a loop for that when I got into my vehicle, because I actually thought this might be platinum, but it's not. It's sterling silver. Here are a pair of earrings that have gold and sterling silver. And I'll leave them on the table since I happened to drop them. But they're like a leaf shape with, I'm assuming they're rhinestones, or they could be cubic zirconia, or it could be some sort of low-grade diamond. I have no idea, but ironically in this one, you can almost clearly see the 925 mark. It has a couple maker's marks as well, and these are actually really nice. They actually are in perfect condition. And like I said, they were inside of the box as well. And they're a decent size. Like, these are all, like, I could wear one of these like a ring. Like, that's how big they are. So they're not tiny, minuscule things. This bracelet actually is relatively small. I'm going to say it might be like a 6-inch bracelet. It's not even 8 inches around. This I did not. Actually, yes. This was also in the box, which is a huge, once again, chunky piece of sterling silver. And one of the things, I remember the dealer, he's like, yeah, you know, that box has a few pieces of silver in it. Silver is barely worth anything nowadays. It's like costume jewelry. I was like, yes, I love when people say that, because that is not true. So if you have someone who you're buying from, I don't care if it's tag sale or personal sale or a flea market or whatever. I mean, you're not going to get people saying that at an antique show or whatever, or if they have a stall in the antique market or, you know, something like that. They're pretty much selling things as what they're valued at. Like, sterling silver is sterling silver at the end of the day. It is not costume jewelry. And if you have people who have that attitude, buy as much as you can from them, get their number, give them your number so that if they come across anything, you could buy from them in bulk. I've done that before and have purchased, my best purchase was about 2 pounds of sterling silver, which I actually still have in one of our safes. And I purchased 2 pounds of it for, I want to say maybe $60, $70. And it was from someone who had the attitude that sterling silver was basically just junk metal costume jewelry. So that's another tip, is listen, have conversations with people. If you do have someone who may be a good resource for future purchases for you for resale, for you to resell, then, you know, make sure you exchange information, because some of my best deals have been made that way. And word of mouth, you know, also have business cards so that, you know, you can give them a few to share with their friends and offer to pay them a finder's fee if you actually end up making a deal with someone. So this, it says, like, it says 925. You can see it right there at the bottom. Above it, it says Mexico. It doesn't say Taxco. So Taxco silver is I think it's mostly not silver, and then some of it might have a little bit of silver in it. You know, actually sterling silver. We had a little test mark. We actually tested this piece just because it's so big and chunky. Like this going across. I don't know if I'll be able to do this with one hand, but I'm going to try to measure it. There you go. That works. So it's over an inch. It's like 1.25 inches, almost 1.125 inches across. And then it's about 1.125 inches tall, or, you know, in height. So and as you can see, it's solid. This is a solid piece, and it's a thick piece. You can see the thickness. So we're going to sell that. And what I am going to do, it desperately needs cleaning. You can see that. A lot of the pieces here I don't think need cleaning, but there's definitely several pieces that need cleaning. This will be one of them. And it's that hammered look. You can see the detail in it, the texture. So that was in this box, and I will sell that as an individual piece. The other thing that we found in this box, which I thought was very interesting, are some other miscellaneous coins. Which one? Oh, it was the dimes, the Eisenhower dimes. When I saw these, I was just like, wow, that's really weird. Someone just threw miscellaneous dimes in there. But as I've told you guys before, if you turn your dime to the side, and you don't see any brown or copper color, that lets you know that you have it, most likely 90% sure you have a silver dime. All four of these are actually solid silver dimes. And I will sell these together as a lot. And what I do when I sell these as a lot, I usually sell them online, and I will describe them. Like, for example, I don't know if I see any in this picture. For example, if they had an S because the coin was produced in San Francisco, or P for Philadelphia, or D for Denver, or whatever, I would list that as part. So I put the date, I put whether the coin has, once again, any lettering. If I saw anything abnormal, such as is the coin printed off center, like looking at this one, it looks a bit off center because you can see a thick line on this side and it's very thin on this side. The others are pretty consistently printed. People who are coin collectors look for things like that, and it actually adds to the value of your what you're selling, so, or of your coins. So you definitely want to make sure you're describing. You don't want to over describe. You just want, you know, like if you see anything abnormal, great. If you don't, move on. Just list it as a regular, like, you know, silver coins, put the dates, put that they're Eisenhower dimes, etc. So that was pretty much, I believe, everything that came out of the. Oh, the other thing that came out of the box were these Mercury head dimes. And they're called Mercury heads because of the headpiece that is on the figure in the dime. These are pretty old dimes. This is going to make me sound ancient, but I'm telling you, I'm not as old as these dimes. I'm not even close. But I do remember getting dimes like this when I was a kid from relatives, from, you know, family friends who would just be like, here's a coin. And people didn't realize the value, I guess, of the coins at that time. But these are, once again, you could look at the sides of them, the edge, the rim, if you will. These are solid silver dimes. But what also makes them special is they're Mercury head dimes. And as you can see, these have dates of the 1930s. I will turn one of them over just so you can see what the back looks like. That's the back of one of them. And if it was produced like, and that I believe is like a tomahawk in the center of some sort, but I'm not sure. But if you want to create where you see the word one, there's a tiny S there, which stands for San Francisco. I'm going to see if this one, like where it was made, just out of giggles and ha-has and curiosity. That one is a D for Denver. So you can actually see where these coins were created. And there are some coin collectors that only collect from certain areas. Sometimes what happens is with a coin, if let's say in Denver they had a low mintage, which means that they did not create that many. Maybe for the entire United States, they only made 1 million. But in San Francisco, of the same coin, they made like, 240 million of them. Obviously, the Denver coin would have more value than the San Francisco coin. I don't know if that's true for this. I'm just giving you an example of how you should research your coins to figure out what you should charge for them. There's a lot of information. I find that some of the best reference information is on websites that actually buy and sell silver, especially coins. I use their information. I don't sell anything to them, but I do read their information to learn the history and get more information about the coins. Also, there's some really good guides that you can get from the library, and that means you don't have to pay for them if they came from the library. If they're discarded books, obviously they're totally free. But do your research, because there are some really valuable coins out there, but a lot of coins are not as valuable as you may think. However, they still have more value than the 10 cents that this coin has on it. So like each one of these dimes are worth at least a couple to a few dollars each, maybe more. With research, I'll know if there's any more. And the same thing for the Eisenhower dimes. Those are probably worth, maybe I would say between 75 cents and a couple dollars each. And the one that's off-centered with the printing is definitely worth more. But once again, you need to do your research because they could be worth more than that. And I have not fully researched any of this stuff. So those were all the things that came out of the box. So in this box, besides all the things that are still in the box that you can see, were all of these loose coins. The coins you see here, the war nickels, which are partial silver, the Mercury head dimes, and the Eisenhower dimes, as well as, once again, I pointed out 2 rings. And I think we had a third ring. I'm not sure where that is, but there's a third ring as well. Maybe that's going to be kept by one of the family members. And this entire box from that one dealer cost, I'm going to give you a second to guess what I paid for it. $20. So I paid $20 even for that entire box of what I was calling goodies. However, obviously, just selling a single ring, I will make much more than $20. And the miscellaneous items that are left, I'm most likely going to just sell in a junk lot of jewelry. So, that's just, the way it is. I know some people are like, oh, but you should go through it. You might be able to sell these separately, which I probably can. And I don't know if I will. I'm going to think about that. These I might actually take out and sell separately. I don't know, because they are pretty elegant. They're pretty heavy. But I don't mind giving other people, especially buyers or, even resellers, a deal, because I got a great deal. So I do believe in, it's a karma thing, and it's fine if you don't believe in it, but it seems to have worked for me throughout my life. So I do believe in paying it forward. I am I'm totally fine if someone else digs through all of this stuff and creates their own, you know, treasures out of it for resale, or if they decide to keep it, I don't care. But so once again, this stuff will probably be sold with other jewelry and miscellaneous things as a junk jewelry lot or whatever. And then, of course, the other items that I showed you out that I actually laid out on the table will be sold as individual. Like this will be one lot, this will be another lot, and obviously the rings will be sold separately. The ward nickels will become another lot, and I'm not even sure as to what I'll do with the miscellaneous coins that I have here. That is the mystery, because I actually have sold individual pennies for several dollars as a single listing, and the person paid shipping and handling. So once again, research has to be done. So then the other thing that I did that day is before the market, because like I told you, I like getting there late. I went to a couple of tag sales that were just along the way. But they weren't on, this is another tip I have. So if there's a flea market in your town, and we don't have one in our town, it's like 2 or 3 towns over, and we live in the country. So, I mean, these are country roads. It's not just like, oh, I can hop a border and I'm in another town. You literally have to drive by farms and sheep and corn and pumpkins and stuff. So what I find is sometimes you'll have people who live along the route that people take to get to the major flea markets, and they will set up like a tag sale every weekend or once in a while, maybe once a year even. And or some people, they've never set up a tag sale before, but they live along that route and they will put a tag sale out there. I do not go to those tag sales. The reason I don't go to them is because they're already along the route on the way to the major flea market that hundreds, thousands of people go to. So that means that hundreds of people have probably already stopped at those tag sales along the way. So what I will do is we will actually take some of the roads that are off the route. They're still on the route, but they're not on the same like road. And we will actually go on some of those like back roads, if you will, and we will actually, look for sales there. So the reason, and especially if hopefully there's no sign. If there's a sign and there's big arrows, then yes, everyone else is going to the same sales. But many times what you will get is if you go a little bit further than that, you'll find that you're in a different part of town and you'll find fresher sales that haven't been overshopped. I feel bad for the people who are putting the stuff out for sale, but I mean, as a reseller, you are looking for deals and you're looking to buy at the lowest price possible, which is why we are the real American pickers, because we are not going to, overpay for anything. Or if someone marks that something is 25 cents, then that's exactly what we're going to pay for it or less. So one of the things we did do is, and like I said, I rarely ever go to tag sales. It is rare that we ever go to a flea market. If we ever go, it's probably once or twice a year. And the only reason why is because with the projects that we work on, there is so much treasure there and higher quality treasure that we don't need to, go to the other types of sales that most people go to. And also, we get most of our merchandise for very, very little to nothing. And we're under contract. So because we're under contract, like we're usually being paid to take the items away. So, one of the things we did do, like I said, on this particular day, because it's rare that we do it, is we did stop at a couple sales. And at one of the sales, I actually purchased the 3 books that you see here in the background and this Christmas ornament. Now, one of the things that people do, which I'm always flabbergasted about is they really don't like to purchase Christmas or holiday items for resale. We purchase them for resale because they sell, and they sell really, really well. You do have to know what you're looking for, and you also have to not overbuy, which means don't buy tons of this stuff unless it's of value. Also, the other thing is you need to make sure you're buying and have the ability to store for later. So obviously, if you're buying Christmas or holiday things in the summer, unless it's something incredibly rare, you're not going to be listing it until like September, October in preparation for Q4, which we're in already and we've been in. And like I told you, we start Q4 in September. But technically it really starts in like October 1st. But anyway, so you just want to be aware of those things. Like, do you have, and I hate having a messy house. I don't like having a lot of stuff. I sort of like to get things moving. And I don't like storing things and not knowing or remembering what was stored. So I'm very tidy and organized, probably to a pain for my husband and my daughter, but especially my husband, who is not as neat and tidy as I am. But this is an ornament that we purchased at one of those sales. So Christmas items, holiday items do resell. You do need to know what you're looking for. And the reason that I purchased this for 25 cents, once again, that seems to be my magic number, is because I immediately recognized it as one of the special issue ornaments from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And that's another tip that I have is we frequently go to museums. I've always loved museums ever since I was a Girl Scout. I think it started when I was a brownie. And I would actually travel to New York on my own. I can't believe when I think about it, especially coming from the family I came from, that my mother and father were totally okay with me going to New York by myself. And I was relatively young the first time. I think I was in 12th grade when I went by myself the first time, and it was for an audition for a play, and they were totally cool with that. And so one of the things I would do to kill time is I would go to like the Metropolitan Museum of Art because I actually read this book and I just loved it and I thought it was such an adventure and it's huge and it has so many areas. So, and then there was another museum that I frequented there. But one of my tips for you to get back to the point is that you should check out museums. The reason why is it teaches you the history of items and you could walk around, you could take pictures, you can make notes if you want to, or you can just enjoy what you're looking at. So simply because I saw that this paper was in the box with an ornament and it said Metropolitan Museum of Art, I knew that I was going to buy this regardless. Plus, it was only a quarter, so big deal. Even if I kept it and put it on my own tree, because the only thing that I collect besides coins, I would say jewelry, and the occasional book, are ornaments for our Christmas tree. So this is actually, and I'll pull it forward so you can see it better. But this is actually made of sterling silver. So you can see it says MMA, which is Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was created in 1991, and the STER period means sterling. So this is actually, and you can test it as well, but this is a solid sterling silver part piece with a gold wash. So where you see the yellowing, that's actually a wash of 10 or 14 karat gold over the sterling silver. And obviously they did that for decorative purposes. And the great thing about this is it came with the original box. It has all of the paperwork. So you have the provenance. And provenance is simply the history of the item and proof of what the item is, where it came from, etc. And this even tells us it's a honeycomb quilt. I can tell you without this, I have known to call this a honeycomb quilt. But I will be selling this ornament individual item, and these ornaments sell for anywhere, I would say, on the lowest side, especially the sterling silver ones. On the lowest side, probably $30. On the highest side, probably $50, $60. Plus shipping. So the books, getting back to those, this came from the same sale, and I paid $1 for 3 books. And to pay $1.25 for these books, I thought was awesome. They were created in, I actually did look at the date. I want to say 1900 or 1899, something like that. And they're Dickens stories. So I am going, and I think it's part 1, part 2, and part 3, but that's fine. And what I'm going to do is probably sell them together as a lot. I have several book buyers who live out here on the East Coast, especially in most of them are in New York, who actually do look at my antiques. They actually send me notes asking me if I have anything that isn't listed or whatever. And hopefully those of you guys, one of the reasons we hang out together, keep those so that's a hope. The other thing I bought, this is at a different, I'm sorry, at the same sale, were Kennedy $half. This one came exactly as you see that. It's a keychain that's like a broken keychain. And the other one, it was issued when John F. Kennedy was murdered or assassinated. And you can see it's in its original plastic container, has a little paperwork around it. It has some decent toning on it. Toning is what we call a natural occurrence when there's an oxidation of the coin. Once again, I'm going into coins again. I need to do a separate video. But you could see like it's lighter in the middle, and you can see the dark ring. And what will happen over time is a whole coin might have like this rainbow effect going on. That's something I'll describe when I list this coin as a single item. What else do we have here that came out of that? I have to plug in my power. So I covered all of this. I'm just going to move some of the stuff out of the way. So after a while, I was like, we should dart across our state really kind of fast and see if this other flea market is still open, because it runs relatively late. I think they close at, I'm going to say 4:30. And it was because it was so windy, etc. out. Thank goodness, thank the gods, that the traffic was really light. So what I decided to do is, like I said, dash across our state and go to this other flea market. And I am glad I did, because I'm moving stuff out of the way, because everything else came from that location. And a couple items came from a tag sale along the way. And that was only 2 items that are here. So the 2 items that came from a tag sale along the way were these eggs. And the only reason I bought these is because it's a holiday season. I figured they would make a great gift for someone. one of our buyers to purchase. And then what they could do is hopefully use it as like a fancy jewelry box. I might actually fit the insides of these with black jewelry foam, because if I do that, I can actually sell them for more. And in the picture, I would put like a piece of jewelry in there, but tell people in the listing the jewelry is not included, so that they can see that they can be used as fancy jewelry boxes. They're made of porcelain and they're made of metal. They're not signed by anyone, but they're really nicely made. Like I love the little bird on this one. That's one of the reasons I got that. This one I actually just threw in because once again I said you should bundle. So this one actually cost 50 cents and this one I threw in. So I actually got both. At the end of the day, we came to 75 cents for both of them. So I was happy with that. And, I have, like I said, a plan for them. So that's another thing that, I would say is when you purchase something, if you have try to have a plan as to how you're going to sell these items. You don't have to have a detailed plan, but just something quick. What I have left are these items. It's very interesting, the story, especially of the jewelry boxes that you see here. The reason the story is interesting is that there was a piece of, I'll show it to you one day because I'm actually putting it in our velvet lounge room. But so I don't know if I bought it actually for the house. So it's one of the items that we probably are keeping at least for a while. And I actually didn't look inside of it until yesterday. So I've had Sunday was the day that we did the shopping. Today is Thursday. So today, because I was doing this video and I was like, oh, should I put this box in the video? I don't know. We'll see. It's like I said, it's like a wooden box, but it sits inside of a stand. And I actually have a lamp sitting on top of it right now, in the Velvet Lounge room. So I didn't look in it. And I did look in it when we initially bought it, and I saw that it was stuffed with like crumpled up paper. So I just thought, they did that. I don't know why I thought they put the crumpled up paper in there, but it was in there. So, and actually, most people probably would have just have, I mean, if you're in the business like I am, you look at everything. So I only looked at a piece of paper because it had a date of 1950 something on it. And then there were some newer pieces of paper in there. So I'm looking through, and at the bottom, there were these boxes. And I was like, wow, like, I bet and then I was like, they're probably empty. But lo and behold, the boxes were not empty. Inside each of these boxes is a piece of jewelry. I don't know if I can get this. And the jewelry, it seems to have different ages. There's different sizes. Meaning some of it is newer, some of it is older, some of the rings are bigger, some of the rings are smaller, but they're all rings. Oh, that's not true. These are earrings. And I definitely did a happy dance. Why? Because first of all, for the box itself, I spent, and I'm calling it a box, but it's like a box stool combination. Like you could sit on it, stand on it, store stuff in it. I paid a total of $10, for the stool itself. And that's all the fellow and I discussed was an actual stool. He was packing up to go, and I actually saw this on the back of his truck, and I was like, that would be perfect for I said for my Velvet Lounge room. He didn't know what the Velvet Lounge was, of course, but he's like, well, if you don't buy this stuff, then I'm going to be donating it. And I was like, well, I'm definitely only interested in the box because the other stuff I was definitely not interested in. So he sold me the box for $10. And like I said, it was on a Sunday. I did it or open the box up until like earlier today because I was making this video, and I was like, oh my God, we left this paper in here. And I'm always afraid of spiders. So I was like, I hope there's not a spider in here. But instead of an 8-legged spider, there was a 6-legged jewelry find. And yes, like I said, happy dances ensued. And I could tell that these were real almost off the bat, but of course I looked at them closer. And this is a really large ring. I'm going to say this ring must be a size, I'm going to say like maybe a 10, maybe a 12. I don't even know because I mean, it's so large. I actually have this to measure ring sizes. So let's see. Is it? It's pretty close to this size. So I'll go with this one. It's maybe a tiny bit bigger than that. And that is, oh my God, it's a size 13. So that ring is a size 13. I don't know if I've ever seen a real size 13 ring before. I could literally put this on my thumb. It has this amazing mother of pearl inlay along with what might be diamonds, or it could be like cubic zirconia. I'm not sure. I'll have to test that with a diamond tester. And this giant amethyst that's right in the center. And I can tell you a lot of these boxes probably did not go with the pieces of jewelry that are in them, but this is exactly how I found them. So this is how I'm showing them to you. And this is America's leading jeweler. I remember the store's service merchandise. That used to be their tagline. So I don't know if this is from service merchandise or not, but inside the band, it has like, some maker's marks in it. It's marked sterling. Like there's a lot of marks inside of the band of this ring. And you can see that little cartouche right over there. And then there's another one on the other side that has writing on it. And so I'm definitely going to do more research on that. Hopefully it's an American Indian piece, but I don't know. And then I found there were a couple pieces. This piece actually had the price tag on it. And you know that whatever you see on the tag from a department store is not the real price. You always pay less. Says $59.99. But it says right on the tag what it is. And looking at the, it's sterling silver. And it has diamond accents. So these are actual diamonds. They're really tiny. This is like when they make the bigger pieces like of diamond jewelry and they have the little chips left or whatever. Some of them can be cut like in the middle. There's definitely 4 cut stones. 2 of them, 3 of them are decent, okay size. The others are really tiny. And then there's some teeny tiny pieces on this edges. That's one of the pieces from that box. Another piece is this sterling silver ring, right? And in the band, there's actually a maker's mark in there somewhere, which I just dropped it right there. It's not clear, but there's a marking. And then I know there's another marking somewhere in here. Oh, the other one you can't, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but if I can twist it, there you go. Inside of there's a bunch of wording as well. And it has like a black onyx face on it and marcasite on the front. This I was really excited about because they're actually 10 karat gold. They're blue topaz. As you can see, once again, the store has a price of $59.99. Most likely these probably be $40. I don't know how old any of the stuff is, but like I said, I can tell some is newer, some is older. This ring, which I I just, the style of it is very crude, but it's sterling silver, size 9. It's never been taken out of the box, and actually I twisted around, and inside there is a maker's mark, and there's also the sterling silver 925 mark. And the last piece was this, and we've actually had a ring similar to this before. These rings, I want to say these were popular in like the 90s. And even my mother had several rings like this. She never had like the emerald because that wasn't her birthstone. But anyway, so this looks very similar to a ring that we've had before, but this one is a emerald, and I think the CR means like created. I don't know what that means. I'll have to look it up, but emerald diamond sterling silver ring, size 8, made in Thailand. I don't know how much this ring was originally because there's no price on it. There's this tag though. And looking at the inside band of the ring, it's completely marked with its place of origin and the fact that it is sterling silver. And so for buying a box that I was, or stool, it was like a bench stool box thing, combination, I ended up with this bonus of jewelry that I never intended on buying because I didn't know it existed. And so that's another one of my tips for you is, you know, when you buy things, make sure you thoroughly check them. Like if you purchase a book, make sure you look through all the pages of the book. In Bibles, we have literally found cash money and ironically, relatively old money. So we're able to sell some of it as antique money. And also we found, you know, different ephemera items that we were able to sell as separate items. This is not the first time that we've purchased like, not a box, but like we purchased something and either there was a hidden compartment or there was, you know, something in it that someone else forgot about, didn't know was there, whatever. And so sometimes you can get an extra treasure. It is rare, very, very rare, but it does happen. It just happened to us. And we've been doing this for many years. And like I'm trying to tell you, it is incredibly rare. But look at what we ended up with from, and I mean, we were almost in New York. Like that's how far this town is that has this gigantic flea market. And the guy that we purchased the box from or the stool from, he cleans out houses. So he told me that, and that's why he was going to be donating all the stuff that was left over because they just, you know, clean out the house and whatever is left, they take it to the market. And if they don't sell it that weekend, then they mostly donate the majority of the items because, you know, that's what they do. And so we were very lucky to get that. Now, another place in this, and I have gotten incredibly lucky with this on several occasions. Now that I'm about to give you this tip, obviously, I probably will never get lucky again with this particular tip that I have for you. So, these came from a sale that we went to a while ago. So this was not this weekend, but it was a while ago, and we just happened, and I remember saying, I really don't want to go in here. They're probably not going to have anything. They never do. But it is, and I will tell you, I don't even want to tell you where it was because I don't want to promote these people because the majority of the money that they make, they claim it's going to help people, but a lot of it literally goes to pay CEO bonuses, company cars, and their company, which is a nonprofit, also purchases high-priced housing for some of their CEOs. They don't pay anything for it, and that's not nice. And a lot of people are giving their items to these people thinking that the money is going to a good cause. or all of the money is going to a good cause. And the employees basically get paid minimum wage, which really sucks. So anyway, we happened to be waiting for something at another store. So they were not going to have our stuff ready for like another 15 minutes or so. So I was like, all right, we might as well walk over across the way, see what they have. So I walked across the way, and the only place that I actually, well, there's two places I go when I go into, I will even tell you, the large thrift shops. I go directly to the silverware if they have any. And I do look inside of the glass cabinets because that's where usually the better items are, even if they're overpriced. But sometimes if you have a coupon or if they're having a special, then you can get it, you might get something decent, or if the employee wasn't as knowledgeable. And then the other place I will go look is if I'm there early enough or on the right day. The bins that are stacked on the side and they haven't put the items out for sale yet, but they're marked for sale. They just haven't been put on the shelves yet, like they're working on it. Those are the three areas that I go to first, and I recommend that you go to first to find the best items in a thrift shop, to find the items that other people haven't overpicked yet in the thrift shop. And also, if it is not someone who picked up the encyclopedia of knowledge of resale, who's pricing the items in the store, that is probably the place that you will find the best deal, especially if you also have a coupon, which sometimes they do have them online, unadvertised. Or if it's your birthday month, they'll give you, I think it's 25% off your total purchase. Or sometimes they do a tag, like if a tag is blue, you'll get a discount on the blue tags or whatever. So those are the three places I go. So one, I look in the glass display counters, and that's usually the last place I look because, hey, the stuff is in there, everyone's seen it. The first place I go to is the silverware. The second place I go to are the bins where they're stacked and the things are priced, but they're not out on the shelf yet. And sometimes I'll even ask, is it okay, if the store is not busy? If it's busy, I will not ask this. And I know when they're not busy. I will ask them, do you have anything in the back? I'm looking for this in particular. And you can't, I hate to say it, but you can't seem like a reseller. And if you go in there too often and do this, they won't let you look. But when I used to resell a lot of albums, there was a particular place that they would actually let me go down in their basement and look at. If I was down there and happened to see something else, great. And plus, there's more to that story. They wanted us to do auctions for them, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, so getting back to why you're looking at these two amazing sterling silver. These are both, and they're marked sterling, which lets you know that they're older. They're not 925. And the maker's mark is on the back of each one of them. And I do have to do more research into the maker's marks because one of the maker's marks I've never seen before. And it's the mark, and there's actually two marks as well as a sterling mark on the back of this particular slotted spoon. I don't know what this was used for. We were guessing, my husband and I, and we think it may have been used for olives. So you would pick the olives up out of the preserve they were in, the vinegar, or maybe it was just a tray of olives and maybe you pick this up and the slots are there, or the holes, so that, the juices would flow out, but we don't know. I mean, we were just guessing. And then this spoon is, you could see there's like a dancing lady on it. And also by the bowl of the spoon, it's nicely decorated. My guess is this one might be like from the 1920s, 1910, 1920. This one I think is older, but we're not sure. And you can see that it's like there's leaves and sort of a naturalistic tone to it. And it does have an initial on it, which you can't see as well. It looks like the letter D. And this one on the back actually has the letter M. So, where is all of this leading us? It is leading us back to silverware. So, what happens, not all the time, but I'm telling you, at least 3 or 4 times, I have gotten incredibly lucky with silverware. And the reason why is when silverware comes into a lot of the large thrift shops, they get tons of it, a lot of it. So what they will do is dump, and this is not all the time, like I said, you have to get lucky. They will dump it all into bins and it'll be like marked 5 cents each or 10 cents each or whatever it is. If it's a matching set and someone actually, maybe if I was donating it, I put all of it in a Ziploc bag and, donated it that way. You might get like a price of $5 or $6 for the entire bag. But the moral to the story is most of the time the employees do not look through the thousands or hundreds of pieces of silverware to see if any of it is, special. They're looking at a spoon as being a spoon, a fork as being a fork. So one of the areas in those shops where you may still be able to find a treasure is in the silverware bin. But what I suggest, and I do this, and they actually sell, you could buy like black gloves, plastic gloves, or of course you can use a blue or the white. I like the black ones because it's less obvious that you're a professional at looking through the silverware. But I would definitely wear gloves, and be careful of getting stabbed by knives because commonly there are knives in there. I can tell you that Goodwill is doing a much better job of going through their silverware. There's a store that was remodeled, that's like maybe 5 or 6 towns from where I live, and they actually separate the spoons into a drawer, the forks into a drawer, the knives into a drawer, the miscellaneous stuff into other drawers. So that means they're touching every piece. I don't even waste my time looking through that silverware. What I want to find is a bin or a box or Ziploc bags where they just have, this stuff thrown in together. And that's where I found these. And like I said, each one of them is actual sterling silver. Plus, these are really nice. My assumption, and this is just a romanticized idea, I have no clue, because I found these on the same day in the same bin, is that they probably came from the same household. Because if you look at the style, even though it's different, there's, some similarity there, and they may be made from the same era. But I don't know. That's just like when you find something, you're like wondering, I wonder where this came from. But, what I suggest, it takes like a few minutes. I mean, I think it took me like maybe 10, 11 minutes to go through. I'm trying to get it clear, but I can't get it because it's so small. But I went through the entire bin that quickly because when I look, the first thing I look at are the handles. Some people actually purchase the mid-century modern stuff. There's a lot of that in those bins as well. If you can find sets of it, even though it's made of stainless steel, that stuff sells really well. But once again, they sell better in sets. So if you only find one fork or one knife, the mid-century modern stainless steel stuff, I wouldn't waste my time with unless I had a set of it. But if you find anything that's made of sterling, like these items are, obviously pick them up. I got them. It was marked that it was 25 cents per piece. So I paid 50 cents for these 2 pieces. So, plus tax, obviously, because you're buying it from inside of a shop. And, I was really happy with that because I will sell these items as individual pieces. And of course, once I get more on the history of the items, the makers, etc., obviously, the sky may be the limit. Look, oh, you can see a really good picture of her there. That is so cool. I was so excited when I saw this piece. And the other thing is when you get used to looking for sterling, especially silverware, you will know almost instantly if you have a sterling piece. And then checking the back of it, it just like gives you that validation. So if you have to go through something really fast, that's totally fine. Just know what you're getting, what you're paying for. But at 25 cents a piece, if those happen to not be sterling silver, the worst thing that could happen is you add them to one of your junk lots and get rid of them anyway. The other thing I got from this same place were these 3 coins, and I actually paid $1 for the 3. And these are, one of them is a shield back nickel, and it's called that because it literally has like a shield on the back. And the denomination because it says 5 cents. And yes, these were made in the United States. And can I get a date for you on this one? Oh, the date is on. And that's the thing with the shield backs. Because of the way they were made, sometimes the dates are hard to read. They get rubbed off. This one, the date, I was surprised, was like pretty clear. This is 1876. So this one was made in 1876. I'm just going to double check that over here. Yep, 1876. And like I said, I got all 3 of these coins for $1. The other thing I got, this one was really interesting. So this coin was inside of a piece of swank jewelry that was a cufflink. It was just one cufflink. They didn't have the 2, but the reason I purchased the single cufflink is because I actually have several of these Indian head pennies, and I instantly recognized what this was. It's a genuine Indian head penny, and it was not uncommon for Swank, a jewelry maker of the 60s, 70s, and the early 80s, to use old coins in their jewelry because at that point, these coins had very little to them anyway, to zero value. And now if you find them, obviously they have more value. So this coin was made in 1899. And what I did is I simply took it out or recovered it from the piece of jewelry. And look, the back of it has like the center area is like perfect. And so that's one. And then the other piece I have is this. I can't remember what they're called, a nickel. And these were also created in the United States. This one is dated 1908. And on the back, it has like the laurel leaves. And at one time, we actually used a Roman numeral for the 5. And you can see around the edge, it's kind of faded, but it does say United States of America. And the V in the middle for the Roman numeral 5 and cents at the bottom, the laurel leaves on the left and right side. And just to let you know, these nickels are not silver. They are made of some sort of metal, but it's definitely not silver because these were not made of silver back then. But once again, $1 for all 3, $1 for all 3 coins. So the other items that I got that day, these actually came from a sale. On the way home, final sale of the day. I was like, all right, this is it. I'm not stopping anywhere else. I know it's out here in New England. It's the end of the season for tag sales and flea markets because at any point in time, it could literally start snowing here. Like last year, I believe it was like October 20th. That we actually had like a snowstorm. In October, like nor'easters. I think we had one nor'easter so far. So
I'm just telling you this because I think this is why I got these for such a great deal, but I really don't know. So on the way home, we go to the final sale. It's a house that I can see it has like a lot of shiny things and this and that, a lot of and this is terrible, but when we see a lot of like colored plastics that are like neon pink, neon green, neon yellow, it depends. If we see a lot of it, we definitely probably are not stopping, simply because that means that, these are newer toys. They have very little to zero value. They're not vintage, whatever. But at this house, it was like they just had tonnage. They just had so much stuff. And so we went over and I found that they were cleaning out a house of their relative, and the seller said their relative was a hoarder. So I was like, okay, let me look and see what they have, since they have a hoarding relative, and the person is still alive. They actually moved to Rhode Island. And so I was like, do you have anything else besides what's outside? And they said, well, we have a bunch of stuff that we're going to have donated that's in the garage if you want to go look at that. And I was like, why are you putting all this stuff out like on the street? I was like, if you call Heartstrings, I think it's called Heart Springs, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, they will come and pick this stuff up for free. And they were like, oh, really? I thought they only took, like, better stuff. I was like, no, they take these toys, they'll take the small furniture. And so they actually started putting things back into the garage. And I actually gave them the number and they called that moment. I was so proud of them. And so the lady's like, I'm some stuff that might be better. This might be more of what you would be looking for. You were so nice. We appreciate your help. So she took me in the house to the basement, which I was a little bit concerned, but I had my mace ready and my other friend. And we go to, and she was nice. I was like, I could beat her up if I had to, and whatever, we're good. So we go down into the basement, and there's like tons of boxes of things. And so she let me look around, and she's like, this box has a bunch of silver plate and other stuff in it. There might be some stuff in it that's real silver. I don't know. But if there is, there's very little, because, her brother, her sister, and all the relatives had already been through this stuff. And so I looked through it and I found these two items, and literally there were hundreds of silver plated items. And I really don't do silver plate, and maybe it's something I should look into, because there were a couple candelabras that were actually breathtaking. They were amazing, but I figured if I purchased those from her, it was going to be over my budget. And that's the other tip I have, is whenever we do finally go to tag sales, we do it, like I said, only once or twice a year. And on the same day, we're also going to the flea market, or a couple flea markets sometimes, and I will have a budget for that day. Since it's so late in the season here, my budget was only $50 for the day. So I had like, I want to say, I think I had like $8 or $9 for the budget left. Of course, that doesn't include, you have to pay for your gas. Obviously, we're going to go out and eat, so that doesn't include that. This is just stuff for resale, is my $50 budget. I actually keep a receipt of what we spent for the day. So I'll just show, so we'll note what we spent for the day. And we do that as we go to sales. I'll fill that out because, like I said, I do pay taxes for our, resale business. And so I was looking and I had like $9 and some change left. And so I found these two items, and I figured, and these are the only silver items in the 4 or 5 boxes and I mean, these boxes were like the ones you would put a Christmas tree in. They were huge, and there were only these two pieces that were real. And I was so lucky that outside on a table, I happened to see this. This actually is the insert for this, which I guess, I don't know, it would have held salt, which I don't think so. The ladle is so large, or it would have held something that had a vinegar base. This is dated back to the 1800s. This is the early part of the 1800s. It's a little silver cup that a child probably would have drank out of. And obviously, one of the more, unless like you're a middle class family and you have a few nice items, or either these could have been on the table, someone who was in the upper crust back then. But she was looking for this, so she's like, she remembers this, going with this. And so her and I ran outside and found that these were still on the table and dropped it right inside. Fits like a glove. But this cup is sterling. It's by a company named Webster. And because it says sterling, I know it's American, and I will do some more research on that. And obviously this is really like, and inside it has a gold wash. That's the other thing. But obviously we are going to clean this because it's filthy. And also it does have like a little dent right there, which is fine, but I use that as one of the selling points. And then, of course, like I said, here's the original ladle. Here's a glass insert. Put that to the side. And they're in perfect condition. No chips, no repairs, no nothing. And I don't know if you'll be able to see the name of this, but it's right there at the bottom. And it is marked sterling silver. And this might be a foreign piece. And the reason I think it could be a foreign piece is because, but it does say sterling, so no, it's an American piece, I think. But the thing is, like, the maker's marks are marks that I don't recognize at all. But this is a solid silver piece. It has all this piercing work on it. It has some beautiful little designs on the sides that you can see, like right there, the little floral design looks like a tulip almost. This beautiful bent handle. It's not just, a regular plain curve. It's beautifully bent. There's the cartouche at the top of it has never been engraved, which is a bonus whenever you find sterling silver. If it's never been engraved, it actually adds value because that means someone who purchased it today, if they wanted to engrave it, they could do that. You can engrave items that have been previously engraved. For example, this spoon. I'll just show you any one, but this spoon, there is a process for the silver person to rub out the M and replace it with another initial or keep it clear. But that costs money. So if you can find pieces that have nothing on the cartouche, like this one has never been rubbed out, it has never been engraved, then that actually adds value. So for these two, take the spoon away. So for these two items, I'm going to give you just 2 seconds to guess what I paid for them. And in the meantime, if you could please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below if you want to see more videos like this. If you saw anything in the video you want more information on, let me know. Not for purchase necessarily, but or if you have more information on an item, more history, or if I was incorrect about anything. I'm always learning. Like I said, this is a learning channel. Please educate us. I appreciate it. Also, if you can give us a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated. But please share us as well. We're totally fine with that. But what I paid for the two items that you see here are $8.25. Initially, I was just going to pay $8, but I had an extra 25 cents. So I left it on her kitchen table just as like a joke or something. And also I did leave a few of our business, not these, we have like our official business cards. These are our YouTube business cards. But I left some of our business cards that, tell her that, basically we could help them, etc. And a couple days ago, she gave us a call, and I will be meeting with her on Friday and helping them with the rest of what they have left to be sold. So once again, as a reseller, you don't have to be a hardcore hustler. You don't have to talk to people for 5 hours. I personally don't do what I wouldn't want anyone to do to me. So I hate hard set sales. I also, may not have like hours to talk to you about an item in particular or try to get you to like me enough to sell your items. But I do, once again, leave cards behind. Like I said, I left a quarter on top of it. So in total, that's why I paid $8.25 for these. So for the entire day, I spent a total of $41.75 for everything that you saw in this video. That is how a real American picker picks. You don't overpay, and if the prices are too high, you don't sit there and negotiate yourselves into bankruptcy. You simply walk away. Because you have to remember you have other expenses as well. So once again, for everything that you saw in this video today, it only cost $41.75 for everything. So I want you guys to try to use some of these methods when you're out in the world, looking for treasures to pick. And, for everything that we have here, I don't know what the final price will be when we sell everything. For everything that we have here, I don't know what the final price will be when I, finally sell everything. But I'm thinking there's, over $1,000 here easily. So for $41 and some change, and that doesn't include our handling fees that'll be added to that. So let's say $1,100. There's probably like $1,100 or more. I'm going on a conservative side, for everything that we had found in that one day. And for the amount of time it took us, the time that it took us the most was a travel because we went from one side of the state to the other. So I'm going to say in total, we probably were gone I'm going to say probably 6.5, 7 hours. And that does not include the time that we took out to eat. Not include that. That's just driving. And like I said, the majority of that time was literally spent driving. But this is what you can end up with, and you don't have to spend if you shop correctly. And also, there were many times I just said no. Like if the prices were too high, move on. Quickly move on. You're wasting your time, and you might be missing out on a better opportunity somewhere else. So once again, if you could please subscribe to our channel. I know this is a long video, especially for us. Our videos usually don't go this long, but it's the end of the season. I want to get all this information out there for you. Also, I want you to have a profitable Q4. One of the quick things I'll tell you here at the end is eBay is almost in the process of switching over to their new payment system. So be prepared for that, as so you don't have an interruption in your sales. Also, PayPal still is available for sale. You can use it for payments. Actually, you cannot. Can you use it? I don't think you can use it. I don't know if you can use. Yes, you can. You can use PayPal for payments still. Sorry about that. But I know that eventually that is going to change. For example, I was trying to get my supplies because I have a subscription with eBay. I receive a certain amount of I think it's $50 in supplies for free from them. And I put my code in, and I noticed for my state they're starting to charge tax on online purchases, which is not fair because in our state, we do not have a law passed that says that they can charge us tax on online sales yet. But apparently they started it, they're doing it, it is what it is. So I put my coupon code in to get my free shipping merchandise, and the tax is not included in that. You have to pay for that separately. And so for the $2 or $3 in tax, I noticed that eBay's own eBay store will only accept the new eBay payment plan. So just so that you know that if you're trying to order supplies soon. And the current Q4 coupon code is only good until December 31st. So, and also you want to get ahead of everyone else that will be ordering at the same time when the holidays get really busy. So now is really the time to order your free supplies if you have a subscription and get free supplies from eBay like I do. So anyway, that's my final tip of the day. That was a bonus. And once again, I know I asked you this before, but please subscribe to our channel. We are trying to grow and reach more people. Please leave any feedback you have. If you want to see more videos like this, please let us know. And most of all, have a great selling season. And hopefully you can get out this weekend, because this weekend and next weekend are probably the final weekends for tag sales and flea markets, and use some of these tips and tricks. And I will see you later.